grandchildren of mine, today is August 29th, 2025, and this is hope. Well, maybe, one of the concluding entries in my journal. I mean, every time I think about it, I'm thinking this is the concluding entry in my journal, but I said that my greatest struggle in life has been with hope. And, Stephen Betchloff here, that I'm going to play in a little bit, has mentioned hope and his perspective on hope. And I think is very enlightening. It's enlightening for me to frame my perspective and hopefully to give you an understanding of the struggle that I am dealing with at this time in my life. And tonight, I do believe that I have come to the determination of what it is that I've been thinking about that I'm going to put on my sign in my front yard. But I'll talk about that in a little bit. But right now, I want you to hear what Stephen Betchloff, Fred Wellman is interviewing him, and Fred Wellman, served in the military. Okay. I can't play everything because I already know that YouTube, for example, if I play too much of something off, that I listen to on YouTube, they'll like say that it's copyrighted or something. I can't put it out there. But I want to put this out there for you, and hopefully you will appreciate it. So here it is.
The end of democracy, but when it's done by Donald Trump, it's okay.
So what's the prognosis? Where do we go from here, Steve? As you've looked at it, you've talked to your peers, you've done a lot of writing on it. I always try to, I'm a hope. I always tell people that in spite of all the things in my life I've dealt with, from going to war 4 times, losing a spouse, all those things, I've really got this persistent streak of optimism. And I told people that. I told this gentleman the other day who said, "No, there's not going to be an election. I can't work it. I can't function that way. We have to do it." But hope comes with action. You can't have hope without action, right? What do you think? Is there hope? Is there action to be made? Where do you see the prognosis if we're going to get out of this morass?
I've written about the notion of hope as a discipline, and I think it's not something that you just imagine will happen, but I think it's thinking through what our reality is. It's thinking through what your values and your principles are. It's thinking through what it is that you're fighting for. And I suspect you have the same notion that I do, which is that as horrible as this moment is, as dark a chapter as it is, this is our moment as Americans to be able to step up and say that we actually believe in democracy and we care about the now 249-year-old democratic project, and that it's not going to die on our watch. And that's our duty as citizens. I think it's our responsibility. And I look at it in some ways as the opportunity that we have been given. And that means, supporting leaders that are interested and committed to defying this regime. I think it means being part of, mass protests. And I think it means not losing sight of the fact of where we're trying to get through, right? And holding on to the notion that this is, as dark as this moment might be, Americans have lived through a lot worse moments in our history. We can surely go back to, people who died during the civil rights era. We can surely go back to the Civil War era and the history of slavery and realize what people have suffered to be able to create our future, our present. And so, to me, they've sacrificed for us. It's the least we can do to do our part to make sure that this goes forward. And the idea that Donald J. Trump, this like huckster from the streets of Queens, is somehow going to end the American Democratic Project. I mean, I both don't believe it, and I'm devoted to making sure that it doesn't come true. And to me, hope. It's weird to say reading about the Nuremberg trials is a source of hope, but the truth is that it was actually very uplifting, because it reminded me that even the worst among us in our human history, that justice was served for at least some of them. Those who didn't commit suicide, like Adolf Hitler. I mean, they were executed, they were convicted, they were held accountable, and I look forward to whatever the proper sentence is. I look for those people to be held accountable, and I look to the country being able to get back to the values and principles that have gotten us this far.
And we'll have to seek those, and I think that's a great place to wind up. Is I say often is it's not going to happen on its own. You just can't act normal again. We're going to have to aggressively seek it out. We have to aggressively reestablish the norms, if you will. We have to reestablish, and that means tighter laws. That, like you said, that means prosecution for those who broke the law.
All right. So, this has been a great struggle of mine. Everywhere I go, I say, to hell with Donald Trump. Everybody I meet, I say to hell with Donald Trump. I went to Lowe's today to get some lumber for my sign, and I said to the cashier, well, you don't give discounts on lumber for military veterans, do you? And she said, no, but I'll take your information or whatever, so, they give me discounts on other things, but I know they don't give discounts on lumber for veterans, and I am a veteran, of course. And so she said, thank you for your service. And I said, well, you're welcome. And as a veteran, I would just like to say to you, to hell with Donald Trump. And then she said, well, Donald Trump's been good for the veterans. I said, no. He's trying to do away with the veterans' hospitals. He's trying to do every benefit for the veterans. I'm a veteran, I know. And she said, well, I'm glad he's getting rid of the immigrants, because I could hardly get a job unless I speak Spanish. And I told her, I said, well, look, you know what that is? He's just trying to implement martial law. He's gutted the CDC. He's gutted the top leadership of the Navy. He's gutted the top leadership of the Army. He's gutted the top leadership of the Air Force. And he has gutted the top leadership of everybody that is not a sycophant or anybody that doesn't kiss his ass. So that's where we are right now. It's a phenomenal time. It's a frightening time, because, tell you the truth, it's almost as if this here, what they call Project 2025, it's been written about in the Federalist Papers, is, what they want is a one-party system, so they want to gerrymander everything. So the Democrats, for example, who, stand up for the working class, don't have any kind of really say. They can complain, but they ain't got no say. They ain't got no implementation. For example, Trump recently, in his big, beautiful bill, so-called, which is actually a big, bill of betrayal. You know, giving trillions of dollars to the wealthy, to the top, you know, to the billionaires, for example, all the tax cuts, but squeezing blood out of the working class. And these tariffs, he's trying to, you know, put tariffs on every other nation, isolate America. And really, Americans pay for the tariffs. I mean, you know, he can kid some people, all right? It's not really kidding. It's a lie. It's a lie. And Fox Media, which is one of the biggest news broadcasts, you know, they own a lot of TV stuff, you know. They promote this bullshit. And people believe it. Even the lady at Lowe's believed it. But I went to Lowe's. I mean, I went to afterward. I went to Dollar General, and I said to one fella, I said, to hell with Donald Trump, and he said, yeah. He said, I thought I was only one among, I don't remember how many million, I think he said 17 million or something. One among 17 million people that hated Donald Trump. And I said, right on, brother. And then before I left the parking lot, though, I called out to some 3 kids. You know, they're probably less than 20 years old. And I said, to hell with Donald Trump. And they really exclaimed, you know, yeah. I mean, they shook their fists in the air, okay? Actually. They were happy I said that. It made me feel good that the young people ain't gonna stand for this kind of tyranny, this autocracy, you know? And they're gonna stand up for democracy. And so, you know, I just tell you, I've had a lot of deliberation on what it is that I want to say, but I probably just, you know, I post some stuff to my buddy Tim, and I'm just gonna put a couple, I don't know if they're shorts or what they are, 5-minute thing that I sent him, you know, or a 3-minute thing or whatever, you know. But I come to the conclusion, you know, that because, you know, he told me, ass clown, he says it all. And so I'm just thinking, you know, on my sign, I'm gonna just say, and you know, I'm not prefacing this with a lot of explanation or anything, but I've had a lot of deliberation on this. I'm just gonna say, you're mangina, Trump. Trump, you're mangina. Stand down, ass clown. Ass clown. Stand down. And, you know, I say that with hope. I say that with hope that our democracy will prevail. The oligarchs, even though they got all the money and fund channels like Fox News and stuff, you know, won't prevail. That they won't continue to buy the elections because the people of America will rise. I mean, America was born with a Declaration of Independence. And in the Declaration of Independence, if you read that, you'll see in the complaints against the Britain Crown, you know, what they were fighting against, the taxation, you know, the bondage, the tyranny, people getting killed, and we had to go to war to fight against it. But America prevailed. Otherwise, there wouldn't be no America today. And my hope is that America will continue to prevail. And that's what Stephen Betchloff said. And when he mentioned about hope and the other guy, which I said his name, but I don't see it up there now. Yeah, I don't really know. I know Stephen Betchloff or whatever his name is. I've seen him before. But it was kind of reviving for me, and it gave me hope. So, you know, in this time, I register this in my journal, an entry, a significant entry. All right.